All right, thank you, everyone. And thanks for adding items to the agenda. You know what? Let's start at the end because we always put the QA at the end. Let's just knock that one off the end and then go back up to the top. Since I see that the GS Lab folks are on. Kunal, do you want to take the QA?
Yeah. So we'll start with the first UV failure or the single UV failure that we have seen earlier. And we had a call with Ajay, and we have shared the logs which were needed for the debugging. So I think Ajay has some insights on this we can share here.
So yeah, I think Larry, one of the thing, right? I did not debug problem too much because what I saw is that the images used are very old. So recently Canonical team had made good number of changes in web console, and those changes are still not used.
And AJ, that's the bullet, that's the agenda item a couple up from there that I just highlighted.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that was about the spec.
Okay, so
yeah.
Thanks. So the tests that are failing are on-ramp tests, which are sort of basic get started tests, and we test both latest and the default. And the default's fairly old because we only update that when we go through a release. Is it, Kunal, is it based on this? Are the late? I'm trying to remember. Are the latest ones always succeeding? Or do you recall?
Yeah, I think we can check that out.
I think the one which was shared with me, was with the older images. And that we saw one of the UV failure. So we can debug the problem, but the code is changed drastically now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So when we say latest, that's the latest Helm chart, which should get the latest image.
I think that's a problem. The latest, we are not releasing the Helm chart, and the latest Helm charts are still pointing to the 6-month-old or maybe 8-month-old images, right?
Correct.
So I mean, if that is the thing, probably I can go ahead and update the Helm chart to start using the newer images. But I thought like if we can update the images when we are running the CI, right, as override values or something.
Well, but I'm not quite sure it's the right thing to do because this is supposed to represent a stable release that's been vetted and
I see.
So I'm a little hesitant just to identify a specific image.
Okay, so in that case, Larry, then I mean I can create the new Helm charts and use the latest images and see if it works, then publish it. And if the Helm chart publish job succeeds, then that is what can get used in the test. I can do that. I think nothing is stopping us. We can use the dev branch, or not dev branch, I think dev tag, so that it doesn't create any, I mean, it's not called as a still released, but it is created just for development purpose. Yeah. So
okay, that seems fine to me. Is everyone else okay with that?
Overall, yes. The only thing that probably my suggestion would be before Agile make the changes would be to have the SD core Helm charts already in GitHub, so we can start making the changes there. Or that would be kind of my suggestion. That's something that I was trying to do since last week.
Sort of in the spirit of semantic versioning, it seems that this shouldn't be. There should be a maintenance release of the Helm chart in some sense. Is that, Gabriel?
Yeah.
Consistent?
Kinda, yeah.
So it's not a bump in the release number of the.
So I think this is something which we have not followed lately. Otherwise, till last year, we after every few days we used to release one Helm chart with the updated images. Uh, and the people or user who wants to stick to the specific release, they used to give the option in the while running or installing the SD core or installing the Aether. I think that is the best approach. So we can continuously release the new Helm charts, but users can still use the old images if they want to. Right. So that with their testing or their use case doesn't break.
Right,
And
right.
that,
And,
yeah.
and AJ, just sort of from a perspective, I know that you're looking at this, I'm going to guess that you're looking this largely from a developer point of view, and I'm trying to look at it from a, what release would we advise someone that was running this in their trial or whatever? So we do want to make a maintenance release for them.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. This all sounds like a resolution. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Ajay.
Yeah, and okay, so let's continue on the QA, the iPerf.
Yeah, iPerf 3 integration to UE ransom is also in discussion with Ajay. We had a small discussion during that call, but uh, as Ajay has suggested that we need to have more detailed um, uh, diagram for network diagram for UE ransom deployment with Ether on RAM. So I have created one diagram for that and I've shared with Ajay for the same.
Yeah, and AJ, just FYI, this is I can't vouch for it specifically, but it was mimicking what Bala did with GNB SIM as a separate process outside of the core.
Okay.
Okay, so that's still in progress.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks. Let's Kunal, thanks for that. Let's go back up to the top. And then who added the UPF topic?
The first one must be from Suresh, if I'm not wrong. I think there were some issues reported from community,
Sorry,
and Suresh had helped. Yeah.
I was
Suresh.
on mute. Sorry. So basically, we do see some issues when we deploy the UPF in the DPDK mode. So the UPF pod gets stuck. So on further debugging, what we identified is in some of the servers, when we enable the VF instances, the MAC address for those instances are not automatically updated. So which is expected based on the documentation, other things I can see for some of the drivers and NIC, it doesn't update automatically. So in order to resolve this issue, so whenever I see this problem, so before deploying the UPF, I was setting this MAC address manually, that is through the IP link set command. So, but this needs to be either documented or we need to update any kind of automation script. I think Ajay suggested that. So probably we need to see how we can take this forward. So and moreover, setting the manually the MAC address after the restart, still we will see the same problem.
I'm not following that in sufficient details, so go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, I would say like Suresh, whatever workaround or whatever method you had suggested on the stack, right? If you can add that in the UPF repository, right? Somewhere in one of the folder, it might be helpful for us to point to community users whoever is facing the same problem.
Right. Already we have a documentation for enabling the DPDK. Probably I thought we can update already because there we are already asking them to create the VFs and follow the certain procedures, and we can make sure the MAC address is in place before they are proceeding with the other steps. Probably that's what my thought process. Maybe I can raise a PR for that one.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Suresh, this is related to using a minimal number of VF, right? Instead of grabbing all of them.
But that is different, Christian. So even
Okay.
with the minimal number of VF also, this is happening. So what I observed is depends on the NIC and the drivers. I think 8710 NIC or some of the type of the NICs, I do not see this issue. So whenever I enable the VFs, the MAC address populated automatically. But on 810 Columbiaville and other type of NICs, sometimes I do see it is not updated. So the other issue, whatever we have, that is a parallel. Okay, when we are trying to scale up the UPF, the VFs are not kind of. We don't have a provision to configure the specific VFs to the UPF one. So that is a altogether different issue. Christian?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, ready for next item? CLA. So I see DAF is on. This is being worked by the LF staff and DAF. DAF, could you give us an update on how this is going to work?
Basically, we'll have to use the CLA that is supported and maintained on the LF website. We're
But
looking at figuring out whether or not we can move existing CLA across, but that's not going to work because member companies need to re-sign with LF as opposed to ONF. Individuals can transfer, and the question is whether we want to do all 7,000 of them or people who request it. And that may be a question for this group. Do you want me to try and pre-populate, or do you want to prune and make people individually sign up on LF?
And DAF, it's a click-through sign up when people try to contribute?
It's essentially equivalent to ours. You know, it's the same process. As an individual, it's easy. Institutional, it's the same process. You chime in, and then one of the approvers has to sign you in explicitly. It's basically same process as ours. You just have to use their site with their database.
so I want to try to capture all the nuances of this. So from an organizational point of view, it's going to have to be redone. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when will that happen?
I'm not aware of the window, but right now we've been asking people to do it from the beginning of the year. I'm not sure when that window closes. So it's happening now, presumably. At least the membership signings are happening.
Yeah, I think that's a different, we shouldn't confuse the two.
Okay.
I don't think they have anything to do with each other. So as far as I know, there's nothing that's going on with the CLA yet.
Okay.
Because remember that the technical project is isolated, completely different than the directed fund, and the memberships are for the directed fund. And the CLAs are all connected to the technical project.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
I apologize. So we'll need
No
to
problem. It's good for
ask
everybody.
people expressly to do that then.
Right. And there's no CLA that I'm aware of that's happening with people. So this needs to get started. And so all the people contributing who will need to contribute under an organization, that organization needs to execute an organizational CLA, presumably. And that has not started yet. And then individuals, I guess my expectation would be that individuals would just be asked to, through the click-through, sign up under the new projects so that it's all clean and there is no automatic migration from ONF to LF. That applies to both individuals and organizations, actually.
Right. Okay.
All right, so individuals will need to click through. At what point does that happen? Is that on a pull request, or when is that triggered?
It has to happen prior to a pull request. Otherwise, pull request won't be allowed. You'll need a CLA to make any modifications at all.
So where's the click through happen? I mean, is it
Sorry, let me pull up the site. It's, it's an LF site, just like CLA.
Okay,
just
so
pull it up.
I'm trying to figure out how as an individual it gets affiliated with a particular, I guess it's as you get the account, I'm sorry, as you set up your LF account.
That's probably the easiest. I don't know whether they tell you to. Do we have, I don't remember myself. Was there anybody who's done it recently enough?
Yeah, it's been long enough ago. I don't remember that option being there.
Okay, and let me throw this into the.
I doubt it's creating an account because the CLA can be project specific and the LF account is
Right, that's what I was trying to understand.
Yeah,
and furthermore, you can access things and whatnot and have an LF account without contributing code and signing a CLA, I'm pretty sure. So I guess somebody's going to have to experiment with this, and maybe DAF, it's you just creating a repository and having it linked to the LF CLA tool and figure out when or what the experience for an individual.
let me double check, but the CLA I do not believe is directly attached to the repository. The CLA is for in a project, not repositories. The repository linked
we'll
to
have
the
to
CLA
check.
has to be individual, but
So, and my understanding is the opposite. So we'll need to, we'll need to check. I'm not 100% certain either, but I'm pretty certain because I think you can have different CLAs even for different projects.
okay, let me go.
And there's some projects that have CLAs and some that don't. Yeah.
All right, let's try to get an answer for and post it also. If we figure the answer.
I'll walk through it now, just to make sure.
Okay. If you have something by the end of the hour, we'll come back to it and revisit it, but we'll move on for now.
Before you move on, Larry, one more question regarding the domain, the opennetworking.org. Is that going to still keep working? I guess it's going to stay there, right?
For quite a while, yeah, several 18 months or something like that.
No, I'm asking because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Ether docs are actually pointing to that domain, and there should be a few places that are pointing to the open networking.
So the Ether docs specifically are etherproject.org. So we will migrate that to LF own that domain name, and we'll continue to use it for this project.
And the SD code as well, I think, is pointing to that, if I'm not mistaken.
What was the last thing you said? What else?
The SD code is pointing to the.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, so we've got all the domain names and then the associated, docs.foo, Jared.foo, Jenkins.foo will all be transferred and preserved. And there shouldn't be anything that lives in opennetworking.org, although that name is not going to go away for many months.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, let me just reiterate a little bit. Gabriel, you were saying that the docs live under open networking. So yeah, I think there are very few things that live under open networking. The CLA is mentioned here. If there are others, and the home website, there's a kind of a home wiki. But most of the things are already under a separate project URL, etherproject.org.
Yeah, for the case of the SD-RAN, I think there is an sdran.org for the SD-RAN. Right. Yeah, so what's going to happen with that? That's also going to be migrated to some type of LF.
Yeah, it'll be part of anything that's affiliated with anything under the broad Ether umbrella. Those domain names and resources, whatever they are, will be quote unquote owned by the project and migrated.
Okay.
And then we can over time choose to turn it off if we're not getting the use out of it, but that's a future decision.
Okay.
And just FYI, there is a document that is in the Aether TST. Oops, where is it? There it is. I'll just flip to it for a second, and I'll post a link to it. But it's this one's focused mostly on GitHub and Garrett and how things get divvied up between the projects. And so, you know, the obvious GitHub accounts, organizations that are part of the Aether will stay with Aether. And it just of note, there is some non-trivial things that Aether still depends on that's in Garrett Open Core, but we are actively moving away from that. So it'll stay there until it gets moved, but it'll eventually get moved. Let's see, let me just click. If you've not looked at this, you just may be interested in seeing. This is not just for Aether, it's broader, but maybe it's worth taking a look at and see if you see anything in there that jumps out at you. Okay, we'll come back to David's notes in a minute. Let's go on, Gabriel, to your next consolidation point.
Okay, so last week I was reviewing some PRs that the Canonical team opened for, you know, adding GitHub Actions to other repos, and I noticed that there are several of these repositories that are kind of tiny. I mean, they just have one file, one, you know, Go file plus one test file. But I noticed also that there is some of this code is already inside the util repo. So, you know, I don't think we should keep maintaining multiple versions of kind of the same thing. And there are a few things that need to be consolidated. So that's what I was gonna see if we can, you know, start using actually just the util repo that is already has many of those things in there. But I don't have much historical background why these other repos were there or are still using. So that's what I wanted to kind of bring it up in here and see what the community thinks about this. Because to me, I mean, the most logical thing would be to just use a single repo for all those things instead of having one repo for only a single file, which sometimes, many times, have only a single function, Go function. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
have some background, but Badri is also here. Let me see if he wants to add on something. Otherwise, I can give the historical background. Badri, you want to say something here on this topic?
Sorry, I was distracted. Probably you can go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, as most of you know, like we had forked this project from Free5GC, right? So we just initially did one-on-one mapping, and we did realize that it's not something scalable and it adds a lot of admin overhead, right? So, and we started combining it under util, and we started with MongoDB, but given that every time we move one of these repository under the util, it's going to cause changes across all the 8 to 9 network functions. So the amount of changes are too much, and that's the reason then we did not pursue this option, right? But yes, I mean, I agree, like if we can slowly move these files one by one under util and then starts referring to this newer location into the NF, right? That would be good from the project maintenance point of view.
So I'm just going to note it'll be disruptive to move, but we should.
Yeah, I mean, we have to do one by one, and we can. These repositories are not going through so many changes. So I mean, even if somebody keeps on referring to the old one, it will continue to work. But we want to see the day when nobody's referring to these repositories and they're referring only to the util / and then this path util or util / flow description. Then that day we can probably archive all these individual small repositories. Yeah.
Yeah, but one general question. So why are you saying that it's going to be disruptive, the changes? So
no,
if
I don't think so. Yeah.
It shouldn't be disruptive. I mean, it's just instead of pointing to the tiny repo, just point to the big repo and correctly modify the location of where the file lives.
Yeah.
So Larry, disruptive in that you have to touch all the functions.
Sorry?
You have to modify all the functions, I think is what he's. It's not a big
no.
Import path we have to change in all
just
the
import
files.
part, exactly.
Yeah.
But modify the functions themselves? No, because I have seen basically, there is a few places where the functions need to modify, yes, but most of the time is basically the same code. I haven't seen any differences. It's just modifying about the import path. That's it. It shouldn't. I still think that it shouldn't be any disruption in there. I mean, it's not going to be disrupted.
Yeah, we should do that. The only thing is it's going to take a good number of commits to change it everywhere, right? And the one of the challenge what we had seen when we initially started is that the repositories have a lot of cross references. So like if you take just giving some random example, right? Path util is not a standalone path util. It might refer to something like log or
Well, the path
HTTP
util had,
wrapper. I
yeah,
mean, I'm
path-
just giving some example because we had a lot more trouble in compiling the code when we started Move. Initially, everything was referring to the free 5GC, and we found it a lot more difficult when we were compiling code and when we're changing the code, right? So, yeah, so it's some cases it's too much of these are not a standalone leaf repositories. I mean, they still have the relations among each other.
correct. But
Yeah.
but my point in here is that, you know, as soon as we start kind of adding GitHub actions in here, we're going to start getting multiple PRs open just to maintain each of the modules, which I believe is more painful than actually just having everything just in a single repository.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, like maintenance point of view, like having them under the util is the best thing.
Yeah, and again, probably in the past there was not much movement in these tiny repos, but again, as soon as we enable GitHub Actions, there's gonna be, you know, Dependable is gonna start opening several PRs, even though there is no change on the code itself.
Yeah. So yeah, but how do we do that? You want to sign up, Gabriel?
Well, again,
starting with one of these things. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that this is a two person work, right? So it's one opening the PRs and the other person basically approving the PRs.
Okay.
You know, I can open the PRs as soon as long as
there
there is somebody else
I'll
to help
review
me
it. Yeah.
reviewing, or if somebody else is open to create the PRs, I'm more than happy to review them. So.
Okay.
I think you got an offer, Gabriel. You open them and AJ will approve them.
I mean, I can do other way as well. Like we can probably divide and do it. I think that's
Sure. Yeah. If there is somebody else also, you know, open
I can help review also.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Do we also have that when we do changes like this, it will also go through the CI process that it's not breaking anything to do these changes?
Overall, yeah. Overall, kind of yes, in the sense that we have already GitHub Actions in place there. However, at the moment, there is no like actual end-to-end tests. So, you know, there are multiple GitHub Actions for building the code, run some unit tests, and things, and do some links. But to say, you know, there is an end-to-end validation, there is nothing automated yet. So what I typically do is I have my local setup where I use all local images of whatever is new and run an end-to-end test for all the profiles in the G-Node vSync except one. So that's what I typically do.
I mean, that works. I mean, probably we'd have to do manually, but yeah, that should.
Okay, I think we got a decision there, so that sounds good. I love deleting code. Okay, roaming support for SD core.
Yeah, so in Canonical, we're looking at maybe in the future having roaming support. So we've been taking some exploratory look at what's going on in SD core. I know that right now it's not supported according to the website. So my question is more around, is it something that's on the roadmap, or that the organization would be interested in having the support for, or not at all? Is it something that we absolutely don't want to have in SD core, or something that it's just not prioritized? So just kind of seeing what the future lies with that.
So maybe I can add a few things. So so like roaming is like it's very big, and if you can probably give us like exactly what you're looking for, right? That might help. And it's not like no, right? I mean, if you start doing some groundwork, there will be helping hands to support it, and of course review and merge. So, but defining exactly what we are looking for, right? That would be really helpful and good starting point. So traditionally, people do come for the different requirements, right? So I would ask you to probably provide some write-up what you are looking for, and then we can break it up and we can start working on it.
Okay, great. So yeah, definitely roaming is depending on the different architectures and setup, and if you need 4G setup and 5G setup and
Mhm.
all those things, it becomes it can become big. So yeah, today I just wanted to see what was the attitude toward having roaming support in general in SD core, and right now we don't exactly know. It's more trying to see what
Okay.
the future will look like. So when we have more details on what we would want, we will definitely raise that again and provide some
Yeah. I think in general,
technical detail.
like one of the question right about roadmap, like the place where we are probably lagging is that two things. One is like upgrading the 3GPP release, and second is about we have done this cloud native work, multi-instance work, enabling it by default with the like horizontal scaler, right? I think that's what we are looking for in the shorter term, right? And upgrade of release is going to be a lot more work, and that will give a lot more value to many community members. Yeah, because we are at 15.3 or 15.4, I think, and selectively we have taken features from the release 16. But that's
So
one of
AJ, are you saying that the horizontally scaling conflicts with roaming, or just that you're
No,
explaining priority has been horizontal scaling?
yeah, I think we have done good amount of work. We want to make sure that that work is always enabled in our setups or in our configurations. So, enabling the multiple SMF, AMF instances, then enabling the database, storing the UE states in the database. Those things are currently supported, but they are not enabled by default. So we definitely want to make it by default enabled with much elaborate description about how to use it. And pod scaling, I think Badri had done something, but I'm not sure if the code is part of the regular AIB, or at least AIB files. But Bilal did
I mean,
that
I
work
think I
recently.
had disabled it, yeah, but it is available as a document also on how to enable it. We have added docs for it. It's more of a configuration than like something we have changed inside the code. So it's based on in the AIB we have to configure it, and I mean we have a document how to do it.
Yeah.
Probably we should default enable it now.
It is, and is that consistent with what Purdue's doing then? That is the
Yeah,
same
I
thing?
think that's right. So we
Yes.
were testing over the weekend, right? And we did find some issues, and we have some fixes in their repository as of now. But yes, I think there's a good amount of work done. So bringing it to the main line for rest of the community would be good thing. Yeah.
Ajay, for the 3GPP version, right? We use some feature from specific version, some feature from other version. It would be great to have a table showing, what Aether support. I mean, what SD core support for which version specifically. Right?
Yeah. I think mostly these new features we have added in the SMF and UPF interaction. This N4 interface is what I think we have moved to release 16. But rest of the SBI interface is still release 15.3. So that's where we should update that interface for sure, because I think 15 is relatively old now, though it is stable, but we would like to go forward.
Yeah,
and roaming.
Second Christian's note there about just a record of what is and isn't supported from the various 3GPP releases would be good.
Yeah.
All right, so Canonical, I think you get the answer you were looking for now.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good. All right, UPF session hold changes?
So I think this one we just added the code, but I need to raise the pull request. So typically UPF cleans up the session as soon as SMF is deleted or SMF is restarted. And when we were testing the SMF restart use cases, right? So that doesn't suit well. So there is a 3GPP feature in release 16 or 17, I think, which says that UPF should hold on to the sessions if SMF restart is supported. Right. So we just did the, I would say that POC of that code, since it is not there in the pull request, right? Like, so after detection of the failure, UPF holds the session, and when the subsequent SMF connects, then the sessions are migrated to the new connection. That's the code we have added as of now. We would make it more of a 3GPP compliant with the and pull request should be there in the next few days. Yeah.
Ajay, yeah,
Mhm.
how different is, when I was kind of cleaning up the UPF, and I found one branch that is about storing the PFCP sessions in MongoDB. Is how related is what you guys are doing there with this other
Yeah.
PR, or have
So,
you taken a look into this other PR?
Yeah. So that's the other way around. What I'm saying is that SMF fails or SMF restarts, right? So in that case, UPF should not clean up its sessions, whatever SMF has downloaded, right? Because it's known that SMF is going to come back and it is going to restore the sessions from the DB, right? Now, what you are referring is that where UPF restarts and SMF need not clean up the sessions because SMF knows that UPF is going to recover the sessions from the DB. So that's the other way, like that's about UPF restart. So I need to check like where we stand on that changes in the UPF specific branch, right? Not sure who did that changes and what stage it is, right? But
yeah, I couldn't find that much historical information about that. I know that it's from March 2 years ago, so I was trying to find out more details, but I couldn't find. So for now, I have the PR open in the UPF. In the ways, in the case that you wanna kind of take a look into that, and then we can discuss later more details on how we can proceed with that one.
Yeah, I think that one also we should probably revive that PR to see and bring it bring that support in the UPF as a UPF restart, right?
Okay.
All right, thanks. This is a little bit of the tangent, but it would be really good. I'm going to try to get the Purdue guys to show up and give us, because they've been doing some incredible stuff, and I know AJ, you've been involved in absorbing it back in. They've got a SIGCOMM paper due the end of the week, so I know that's where they're busy at right now. But they do now have some really solid results.
Yeah.
GNB Sim, there's a pull request. I don't know who's this is.
So we added the support to retransmit the messages from the GNB Sim. This support was missing, and it really becomes important when we are trying out some of the redundancy events in the core, right? So if we don't have this support, it basically just means that you have to reattach. But if you have this retransmission support, the UI continues its execution. So yeah, I think this code probably, I think it's added only for one message, but it's fairly straightforward and can be extended for the rest of the messages.
So you're looking for someone to review that, or is it?
I think Gabriel did review.
Yeah, I already reviewed it last night, but there is only one comment that, it's basically, it seems like in one line, it basically, regardless of what is configured for the profile, it's changing to false everything. So at least from the test that I did last night. And that's what I was kind of trying to point out in the review. So as soon as you properly address that part, we can actually merge that one, because overall, besides that part, everything looks good.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. OMEC project GitHub, pinned repos, Gabriel.
Okay, so when someone goes into the GitHub, for the OMEC project, there are several repos that are pinned in there. One C3PO, NGICRTC, OpenMME. I don't know what is the use or the reason to have those, or still have those repos as pinned in the OMEC project.
Oh, they are 4G related. I think we have to keep them. Yeah.
No, they are pinned. So meaning that as soon as you get into the GitHub Omek project, they are going to show up in the top.
Oh, okay. Then okay. I'm not sure who did that and what's the process of changing it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
maybe
no,
DAF knows it. Yeah.
just click. Click on where it says on top left where it says Omek project. Yeah. You see, it shows
the pinned ones. You know what? That's a
Exactly.
really good point. That there's some pinned ones all over the place that should be cleaned up. Good. I think you're right. So this kind of raises a high level issue, which is we need to make adjustments on who the owners of these key repos are. And Gabriel, you know that this is an issue because we were talking about it over the week.
Yep.
Let me just ask the TST who ought to have admin and owner privilege on this stuff. Talk about this particular repo. It seems weird that AJ, for example, does not have owner privilege here. Gabriel probably ought to as well. Does that sound right?
Yeah, and probably, Larry, historically, this was the work with Sprint at the time, right? And the whole 4G stuff, right? Which has never been updated.
Yeah.
It's probably, a good time to update. And
yeah. So let me just turn that into a proposal, which is Gabriel and AJ have admin / owner privilege on OMAC. We can add to that, and I don't know who DAF is gonna make it around on this, so that would just be my proposal.
Yeah.
As long as we need people that are really active that can step in and do that, and we need more than one.
Yes.
Okay. We have a similar issue on the ONOS project, which we depend on, and it's equally thin there. I would say Wuzhong and probably Sean maybe, because this has both
SD-RAN and ROC.
And ROC implications.
Larry, I recently went in and assigned all of these 77 repos, evenly across core maintainers and reviewers, so they all have the same level of access now. So if there should be a team setting here, if you go into I don't know, you don't seem to be seeing it.
Yeah, I don't. I have no membership here at all, which is maybe just I need to have.
Yeah, actually, that's my fault, Larry, because I didn't know your GitHub username. But if you want to let me know what that is.
Yeah, it's LL Peterson.
I've already invited you, Larry, so I just need to accept, and then you'll be.
Okay, so it's already done. Okay, yeah. So let's.
Well, you need to accept, and then I'll give
you this. Let's revisit next week and make sure everything's squared up the way we want it.
Right. And
yeah, so and that includes making rational decisions in what the pinned repos are.
Right.
So Gabriel, AJ, whatever you think are the most obvious to be pinned.
Okay. Now regarding that same bullet, the second part, again, I don't have enough historical background, but why do we have the SD-RAN Helm charts in the OMEC project?
I don't know.
Is that something, the one which is staying like has seen no changes? Because I do remember that there was a stale repository, and maybe I think we should just confirm with the Wuzhong what is the final SD-RAN Helm charts. If it
no. Yeah, even worse, because this SD-RAN Helm charts is forked from a project called SD-RAN, which that should be some historical background that I don't have, because the SD-RAN Helm charts are actually located in the ONOS project. But this fork comes from some other place. So, no, just SD-RAN, maybe you can type there.
Yeah. Well,
an easy way is if you go a little bit down, instead of there,
Yeah, just a second.
No, if you go down, yeah, there
There
where it
it
says
is.
a little. Oh, no, that's the SD
Nope.
core. No, go back.
Oh, sorry.
A little bit
that's-
up, a little bit up, a little bit up, a little bit more. Yeah, in the final repository, down, there is
Sorry.
a section. No. There is a section it's called the repository. So go a little bit up. Just stay not too much. Okay. Final repository type SDRAM.
Thanks.
Yeah. So as you can see, this SDRAM is forked from this other project that is called SDRAM.
I don't
So
see this
this
is
looks-
active as such. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
if you find something like that, it's probably time to just either delete it or archive it.
To me, that should be deleted because again, the Helm charts that I have worked with for the SDRAM project, they come from the ONOS project.
Yeah,
GitHub
yeah.
project, so-
These repos are just absolutely chock full of unexplained, redundant, obsolete stuff. And anytime you come across something like this, you know, you might raise it just for a sanity check. But I think in terms of maintaining some sanity in OMEC project, you should feel free to at least archive it,
Mhm. Okay.
but maybe even delete it.
Yeah, because this one doesn't make much sense to me, at least.
Yeah,
to
it
be on
makes
the
no
OMEC
sense.
project.
Okay. We should continue. It is a stale. I know, yeah, we've got a few more minutes left. I know that DAF has done some work up here. Do you want to give us your summary?
Just as Timon identified earlier, it is when you first create a PR, it will check the CLA. And if you do not have CLA approval, you'll get a dialogue that guides you to the CLA process. So you can do an individual CLA at that time or go through the corporate process. Corporate, will need approval before it'll go in, but it'll go on. So the point is you don't need to do it preemptively. You can do it on your first PR if you're individual.
Got it. Good. Everyone got that? So, but this means there's been some linkage then to the LF's CLA process.
Well, that is the LF CLA process. What do you, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. So how do we get that engaged then on our repos?
We can't until the repos are in the LF environment,
Okay,
which,
so
is
so that's
the thing that's
kind of the
floaty right
last
now.
bullet here, which will take effect when, let's just call them the Aether repos.
Organization, I think. What you're looking for.
Well, I'm sorry, there's not going to be LF. We will have to go into the individual organizations and trigger something, I would think.
Yes, they get moved to the PCC, which is their tool to manage all the projects, and the Aether project needs to be told about the GitHub organization.
So that's LF knowing about these repos. That's not turning ownership of the repos over to LF, which doesn't seem quite right.
If it follows the other LF processes, the ownership has to be transferred before they can be informed, before they can be updated.
Let's take with that. I don't know. Let me just phrase it here.
Yep, I think that's more accurate.
All right, so they're transferred to LF, whatever that means. And I want to understand that more deeply, and we can come back and talk about it in the TST if there's anything to debate on it. It could be something as simple as you have to register the repos with LF so they can track them or something like that, and apply their CLA to it. I don't know.
I think LF has said that they have to have shared admin rights to the repos or something like that as well.
Right, so that means there's going to be an LF bot of some kind that's an owner or an admin of every one of our repos.
Most likely.
All right,
We haven't got to that deep yet.
okay, coming soon to a foundation near you. All right, that's everything on the agenda. Anything else?
Probably one thing that I have mentioned in a few times in the previous meetings that we are kind of like adding, GitHub Actions to the SD-Run repos. I was planning to start kind of merging them soon. DAF is going to help me with a push-only API token for FOSA, and as soon as that's completed, we can start merging. After that, since Dependable is going to kick in, we're going to start kind of seeing several PRs open. So what is the plan about reviewing them, approving them? Is there going to be more people to try to help us with the SD-Run itself and later on in the ROC?
Well, I think, over time, Wuzhong certainly is part of that equation. I think Alex would be as well, as this is all being used in the smart 5G work.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on who's got a stake in it, and those would be the two obvious ones.
Okay. Yeah, because there are a few PRs that are already open for quite some time in the ONOS project. Some related to ONOS Leave Go. I think Sean, I don't know if you remember that. But somebody needs to kind of make a decision to say, okay, let's start kind of merging whatever is already approved and what is going to be the action items for that.
You can add me as a reviewer.
Let's put that on next week's agenda. We do need to have a I don't know how to talk to it. I'm just going to put the SD-RAN contributors. So that we just have something that's a little bit more robust than we do today. And we'll try to rally some folks that are interested in that to get here next week. All right, that's all I got. We good?
Yeah, I think we can discuss this next week. Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.